Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to talk about the 96th Academy Awards and something that happened last night concerning John Cena, a professional wrestler, obviously, probably the most popular professional wrestler um, of the last decade, from 2005 to about 2015. He appeared on the Oscars, the 96 edition of the Oscars, to present the award for Best Costume. And he came out with just his placard covering his private parts. Now, underneath the costume, he uh, underneath the placard he had a little like bikini top, a flesh bikini top, but nobody knew that. To the viewing audience on television, he appeared naked. And people are like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? First, we couldn't see John Cena, and now we see him, and we don't want to see him. We didn't want to see that much of him. He came out to promote his new movie that's coming out, Suicide Squad. That was what he was there to promote. But it's just a very sick thing with when it comes to Hollywood that they, like Candace Owens said in her review of this, at least of what's going on. Candace Owens reviewed it, and I gotta agree with everything that Candace said in her video reviewing this. Is that Hollywood celebrates too much nudity. Hollywood celebrates perversion, and to take a character like John Cena that has been a an inspiration to millions upon millions of children that grew up during the time that he was the most popular wrestler in the world, and to twist him around to make him do something that you could tell that he was uncomfortable doing. He was not comfortable doing this, what many people are calling a humiliation ritual. Something that, if let's be honest, if it was done to a woman, like Ben Shapiro brought this up too, if this was a woman made to do the thing that John Cena was made to do last night, even if she came out in a flesh colored bikini outfit on her breast and her vagina, if she was made to do this, the media would be up in arms. The media would be out to cancel the entire Academy Awards if this were to occur. But because this is a man, people think that it's funny. People think that it's a joke to laugh at or to smirk at. Oh, look at him. He's coming out and they're forcing him, or they're putting pressure on him. They're putting coercion on him to be naked. When it's not right either way. You know what I mean? You could tell that John Cena was uncomfortable doing this, but it felt like he was forced to do it because of his status vis-a-vis entertainment versus their status. It's no secret that the entertainment industry, the mainstream entertainment industry, looks at professional wrestling as something to be despised. Every time you turn on a news station or a news story about professional wrestling or something having to do with professional wrestling, despite the fact that wrestling gets high ratings, despite the fact that wrestling uh, makes billions upon billions of dollars, when it comes to the other facets of entertainment, especially the movies, they look at professional wrestling as something that is to be made fun of and to be mocked and to be derided. So, in many ways, to me, it was another way to mock the business of professional wrestling and professional wrestlers. And the way I looked at this was like, say you're in high school, right? And you don't really want to do something that's a sexual act, but you're forced to do it, you know, by peer pressure. So John Cena, obviously he's moving away from the WWE because he's becoming older. So he wants to get into Hollywood, you know what I mean? So he's not a great actor, neither is any professional wrestler really, but he's the type of guy that in his WWE career, he did whatever he was told. He was a company guy. He went along with the flow, obviously. So he feels the same. He feels, I guess, compelled to do the exact same thing, you know, as a way to fit in, the way I see it, into this Hollywood circle. You know what I mean? But the Hollywood circle is a completely different circle. Like I said, they look at wrestling like it's a redheaded stepchild of entertainment. They don't even acknowledge that wrestling has any validity, not in their eyes. You know what I mean? In their eyes, professional wrestlers should be mocked, should be made fun of, and should be made to be humiliated. You, you know what I mean? So John Cena, I feel like he'll do anything to try to fit into that role. And like Lisa was saying, in the future, because John Cena did this now, you know what I mean? Because the higher ups that run the Academy Awards are probably older white gay guys, and they get off on seeing this kind of thing, this kind of, oh, let's just make him humble. He thinks he's a big, tough wrestler. Let's force him to strip. Again, I'd say, imagine if this was a woman. You know, imagine if this was a female, an actress, right? And she was, and you say, okay, this things that Harvey Weinstein used to do. Okay, you want to get this role? Here's what you got to do. You got to appear naked, you know, in front of the whole school, even if it's like on a local level, like at your local school, you got to appear in bra and panties, right? Or something of that nature. You know, people would say, okay, that's fucked up. You know what I mean? Why are you making her do this? You know what I mean? Just because she wants to be accepted, she has low self-esteem. You know what I mean? So that's what I feel this was, like a hazing ritual. These are the type of people that the people that are in charge of the Oscars and stuff, these are the type of individuals. Right, Lisa's saying they already did it to Halle Berry, and they did. These are the type of individuals that run the Oscars that probably got picked on by people like John Cena, people that were jocks. Because when we become adults, we fit into basically the same roles that we did when we was in high school. You know what I mean? The popular kids are the popular kids. The jocks are the jocks. The nerds are the nerds. And what these are in the entertainment world, these are the popular kids. These are the kids that everybody wants to be like. But when they were in high school, I bet you they wasn't the popular kids. I bet you they weren't. You know, they was into acting. They was into theater. John Cena was into sports. You know what I mean? So guys like John Cena would probably pick on, back in the day, kids like this. You know what I mean? Kids that were into the theater world that became actors. So now they feel like they have the power. They feel like they're the popular kids. So they're going to make a guy like Cena do the kind of humiliating and degrading things that somebody from his social group back in the day in school would make them do. But they're going to make him do it on a national stage or an international stage. Or like Lisa is saying, with women like Halle Berry, that the guys that are straight or whatever that are running Hollywood, they probably couldn't get a girl like Halle Berry. So the only way they can do it is through a power play. you know. And another reason I think that they're doing this is a couple of weeks ago, John Cena faced a lot of flack in the mainstream media for not denouncing Vince, his ex boss, and a lot of people might view his not denouncing Vince as pledging allegiance to uh, Vince in terms of his politics, right? And, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, the whole host of the Oscars, made a lot of, or not a lot of, but a few anti-Trump jokes. They always try to, and then when it comes to the Oscars, they always try to shoehorn political views into it. So they might view John Cena as like a Republican type. You know what I mean? So we're gonna make him pay. We're gonna make him suffer for being, a Republican or not denouncing his boss Vince McMahon, who was his friend. You know, on the Howard Stern show, we're gonna make him pay, and we're gonna make him do something that is so humiliating to him as a man. I mean, he looked uncomfortable doing this. If you watch the video, he didn't look like he's comfortable in his nudity. Now, people said, well, he wrestles in Speedos and whatever, right? So that he should be comfortable with that. First of all, if they believe that he wrestled in Speedos or whatever, they never watched John Cena wrestle because John Cena wrestles in jean shorts. He has jean shorts, long jean shorts on when he wrestles. So he's not naked. He's not even half naked. You know what I mean? He's a person. He has tremendous modesty. He has he has a tremendous public image to uphold when it comes to his relationship with Make a Wish patients, Make a Wish people, Make a Wish participants. I don't know, patients or whatever. People that have disabilities. His following in the disability community is well known. He's the most requested Make a Wish person in the history of Make a Wish. He he has a following of children. You know what I mean? He has a certain public image to uphold, so this would destroy his image. You know, when it comes to a Hollywood celebrity that has a clean cut image, they always try to do the best that they can to destroy this person, I feel, and to make them go against their better judgment. I even heard that uh, they had a problem with the woman who won Best Supporting Actress, uh, Divine Joy Randolph, won for The Holdovers, Best Supporting Actress. That the people in the Oscars, the people in charge of the Oscars, had a problem with her speech because she mentioned God in the speech. She acknowledged her faith in the speech, and some people were online raging about that. So when you hold a certain value system in the world of Hollywood, they want you to, yeah, yeah. Lisa, they want you to go against that value system. When it comes to a wholesome value system, if you promote certain uh, values that are contradictory to the degenerate values that Hollywood holds. And John Cena has a clean cut image. John Cena is not like other wrestlers. You know what I mean? Other wrestlers out there doing drugs, other wrestlers out there doing all kinds of debaucherous things. John Cena is not that. And he's very selective about his image for years. You know, he never, in wrestling, he never wanted to turn into a bad guy ever because he was concerned that his kid fans would not know how to take it. You know what I mean? And my thing is too, if I was just gonna say that, at least it took the words out of our mouth. The Rock who is the most successful actor, the most successful wrestler turned actor, was never made to do this, go this far. Now, there's been this theory for years out there that male, it first was started by Dave Chappelle, that male actors um, are forced and pressured, specifically, well, specifically like comedians, and mostly like African American comedians are forced and pressured to wear dresses and de- to demasculate themselves. So it seemed like Cena was an anomaly, but again, uh, they see him in a similar vein, like they would see a Terry Crews or uh, somebody of that ilk, a big macho guy. They see him like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if he wore a dress or something? You know what I mean? But I think this goes a step further than even the dress thing, because a lot of times, like Lisa mentioned the Halle Berry example, uh, like Lisa was saying, that was in a movie. Like you had to go see that movie in order to see Halle Berry do that humiliating thing. You know what I mean? Appear naked and having sex with somebody who in the movie was accused of killing, was actually a prison guard when her husband died, according to the script of the movie. But you had to go see that. You have to go see these performances that Terry Crews and these other actors did that were wearing dresses and shit, right? But you didn't have, this was something on TV. So say I'm a fan of Cena, right? And I'm a kid, or I'm a, a person with a disability, an intellectual disability that doesn't fully grasp the scope of what's going on. And I'm a huge John Cena fan. I'll look at this like, why is John Cena doing this? You know what I mean? Like, he's supposed to be this wholesome character. Why is he participating in this? Why is he going along with this? You know what I mean? This is not a character in a movie. This is supposed to be his real life, right? And I think he's approaching it like he did in the WWE, where okay, I'll do anything. But in his days in the WWE, they didn't make him do this kind of stuff. They made other wrestlers do it. Specifically the female wrestlers. You know what I mean? But they protected his image pretty well. And like Lisa's bringing up, The Rock's image was very protected in Hollywood. Other than the Tooth Fairy movie, he never really did anything demeaning in Hollywood. But he had better agents. You know what I mean? Cena probably doesn't have that kind of protection. And he's diving in head first. He probably wants to be more successful than The Rock. You know what I mean? And they look at him as more of a comedy act because, you know, they don't know about his past in the WWE and what he means to WWE fans and what he represents to fans of the WWE. You know what I mean? They don't, and even if they did know, they don't care anyway. Because again, when it comes to wrestling, Hollywood will never respect wrestling fans and wrestling at all. Like you see it when they talked on Real Time with Bill Maher, the condescending attitude that both Bill Maher and Bob Costas had towards wrestling. Like, oh, every time somebody mentions wrestling in a news report or whatever, they just, oh, that's just wrestling. So they don't respect John Cena's character. They don't respect what he's built and the reputation that he has with his fans in the WWE. And they don't respect him. And it just proved that he doesn't really respect really himself either. Because what I would have said if I was him, I would have said, you know what? I ain't doing it. If The Rock ain't did it, I ain't doing it either. You know what I'm saying? Kiss my ass. He always has a place in WWE. That's my point. He really doesn't need Hollywood. He wants to be there, but he doesn't need to be there. Because, take for example, the people that came along during the time that he's come along in WWE. Randy Orton is one of the perfect examples. Randy Orton, he never went to Hollywood, he never went to anything else. He's just specifically wrestling. And he'll probably always be wrestling. And Cena could have been that too. He always had a home there. He didn't have to sell his soul the way he did. You know what I mean? Because we talked about it for years. Wrestling fans are some of the most loyal fans that exist on this earth. And even if he got too old to be a wrestler, he could have been a manager, he could have been backstage doing whatever. Right, Lisa's correct. He might lose fans over this. He always had a home there. He didn't have to sell out this way. You know, he didn't have to go out in this way. You know what I mean? The fans didn't turn against him. They still love him. You know, you know, Hulk Hogan never did nothing like this. Roddy Piper, other people that crossed over into Hollywood. Batista, you know, any wrestler you can name. They didn't have to go this route. They didn't have to become a hoe for Hollywood, basically. They didn't have to. He didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? He chose to do it. He chose to do it. And in a way, I think in the short end of things, in the short run, he might gain a lot of support because they'll throw their weight behind him. But in the end of the day, it's gonna be like the movie Carrie. Remember that movie? Carrie, where that girl was begging to be accepted by the popular kids. And she was accepted for a while, but in the end of the day, they didn't really like her, they didn't really respect her, and they didn't really care about her. And I think that's going to happen to Cena because he's not a great actor. He's not, he doesn't have the ability to become an Oscar winner, a Denzel Washington, a Robin Williams, and even a Denzel Washington or a Robin Williams. Even they had to degrade themselves. I mean, look, Denzel Washington didn't win the Oscar for Malcolm X like he should have won, but he won the Oscar for Training Day. Robin Williams, as great as he was in a movie like Good Will Hunting that he did win the Oscar in, people still remember him more for his performance is in Mrs. Doubtfire. And the movie industry, the film industry drove a person like Robin Williams, who was a good person, to so much anguish that in the end of his days, he wanted to take his own life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that that's the reason why, of course, he suffered depression and stuff like that. But what I am saying is never lose sight of just as fucked up as the things we said that a person like Vince McMahon would make people do and degrading things. Other Hollywood producers that are on a bigger stage than a person like Vince would make people do as well. You know what I mean? And the point of this is no matter who you are, never sell your soul for a quick buck. Because in the end of the day, when you do things like this, they might like you for a while, but they'll never respect you. They respect you more when you walk out on them and you don't play by their rules. You don't say, I'm going to do it their way. You say, I'm going to do it my way. Because when you're a pushover, guys, in this world, you'll never really get anywhere. So the kind of mentality that a guy like Cena had in the wrestling business doesn't really work for the Hollywood business. sometimes you got to take the Hulk Hogan route and you got to say, you know what, that doesn't work for me, brother. I'm not doing that. My image is what my image is. I want to be taken seriously as an actor. I want to be taken seriously as a man. I don't want to do this kind of stuff. I want to maintain my dignity and self-respect. And that's it. And I'm only going to take roles that are going to present me in a positive light. Because in the end of the day, if this doesn't work out, I want to be able to go back to my people, my fans that brought me to the dance, that brought me success, where I was thriving and I was the man. And I want to be able to go back there with my head held high and say I didn't sell out to Hollywood. I didn't sell out. I didn't do things that were against my moral system. And besides going back to his fans, you want to do things that are comfortable within your moral framework to begin with. You know what I mean? If you're a religious person and they ask you, say you're a hardcore Christian or a hardcore Muslim or whatever you are, and they ask you to do a sex scene, you have to ask yourself, if they threw millions of dollars at you, would you do it? Or would you be a man about it or a woman about it and say, I'm not doing it? I'm not showing my body on TV or in a movie. There's just certain things I won't do. And have integrity about it. You won't get as many roles because you're not willing to go that far, but you will have respect. You'll be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, you know what? I might not be the richest person, I might not be the most successful, but I have dignity and I have self-respect. And there's just certain lines that I won't cross. But obviously Cena has made that choice. Cena now has shown, right, Illuminati ritual, people are calling it. At least is right. Cena now is showing us that he don't have that level of of moral integrity. That he's just about the money. That he's just another Hollywood celebrity that's willing to sell his soul to the devil, so to speak. And I can't. This is the second thing that I've seen John Cena, the person, not John Cena, the wrestling character, John Cena, the individual, the human being, do that I just can't respect. You know what I mean? The first thing was the China thing. Okay, that was a mistake. And he has a big following in China, and he walked back his comments. And we know how I feel about people that walk back their comments and say one thing and then retract it and say another thing. I don't like that. But with this, you could tell he went against his moral compass. You could tell the man was uncomfortable with this thing, this ritual. It'd be one thing if he was comfortable with it. If he was cool with it, sure, who can stop him, right? It's his own body. He can do what he wants with it. But when you can look at a person and tell that he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to be there, he wish he didn't have to do it. That's what makes it cringy. That's what makes it wrong. That's what makes it immoral. But again, because he's a man, and because they feel like men don't have like the like look at the Me Too movement. When Terry Crews came out and Terry Crews talked about being forced to and pressured to and sexually assaulted in the world of Hollywood by these producers, other than the actual Tamara Burke, the lady that works as the founder of Me Too, other than her, the rest of the public just laughed at it. And they said, okay, that's just a man. You know what I mean? SA, sexual assault charges, they don't have the same sting when a man is the victim of sexual assault and sexual exploitation as they do when it's a woman. Even within the world of WWE, Like I talked about this Janelle Grant case. Okay, that's one thing. People people looked at it like, okay, that's terrible because it's a woman. But other cases have gone down where men or boys were the victims of sexual assault, and people just looked the other way. So obviously, Cena wasn't part of sexual assault and anything like this, but just what he was made to do in public was terrible. Right. Lisa says, "Oh, his Instagram account people are going on and less." Again, yeah, he just sold his soul. He's not going to be welcomed back by his fan base, and if anything, this will backfire on him because here's a guy who, in 2008, came out on the Jimmy Kimmel show and criticized The Rock because people that remember there was a time before 2011 that The Rock was trying to distance himself from wrestling, and he was asking people to call him Dwayne John. Like he didn't want to be called The Rock anymore. He just wanted to be called Dwayne Johnson, right? Whenever anybody would ask him when is he coming back to wrestling, when is he gonna do wrestling again, he would, even though wrestling is in his blood, his father, his grandfather, and everything, he would denounce it. Right? He would say he's never coming back, and he was told to do this by his people that handle him. Right? And at this time, John Cena was on top of the WWE. Right? He was the main star of WWE at this time, and John Cena came out and criticized The Rock. He says he never comes back. He never pays respect to WWE. Right? He completely sold his soul to Hollywood, which was true at the time. But look at where we are now in 2024. Now John Cena is doing something that The Rock never did in his life, selling his soul even worse than The Rock ever did, and completely trying to distance himself from his public image that he has cultivated over the years in the WWE. So who's the real sellout? Here you have The Rock working for WWE, in charge of on the board of TKO, appearing on SmackDown every week, being praised by WWE fans, and then you have John Cena selling his soul to Hollywood for a check. So, as far as the rest of the Oscars, like the overview, Oppenheimer won for Best Picture, which people thought it would. And congratulations to uh, the lady that won for the handovers, uh, and John Mulaney, that comedian that made the joke about Field of Dreams. He should be the host next year because that was a funny monologue that referenced a classic movie. But and Ryan Gosling took it for he had he had he had the best performance of the night. But as far as this John Cena thing, this is disgusting to me. And this, oh wow. Lisa just sent me a picture of John Cena in a dress, guys. Like they made him put on an actual, like this is totally outrageous. I mean, really, fuck Hollywood for doing this. And John Cena, I'm ashamed of you. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have, man. I'll never look at John Cena the same again. I never really liked John Cena as a wrestling character, except when he first came out in the early 2000s, like from 2002 to 2004. You know, when he was doing the rapping. Uh, Lisa says, yeah, it's a toga. But anyway, people are gonna, it's a toga, Lisa, but people are gonna look at it like it's a dress. But I never liked him really that much as a wrestling character. But I know that he was popular, you know, especially when he made that turn, you know, as like the wholesome John Cena character before he, after he stopped doing the rapping. Because back in the day when he first came out, he used to, like, he would diss the other wrestlers to battle raps, and he was like a rapper type character. That's when this is when Eminem was like big and the biggest rapper in the whole world back then. But my point is, when you're crossing over, like it's like 50 Cent. I don't think 50 would have did something like this. You know what I'm saying? I don't think 50 would have tried to sell his soul to Hollywood. Like we said, The Rock didn't do it either. Certain celebrities, they don't go that far. Certain ones do because they want to be accepted. But uh, it's just showing you that peer it's showing you guys the peer pressure exists even in the adult world. You know, even among millionaires, because these are Hollywood celebrities, wrestlers and shit. They got millions of dollars. They don't have billions of dollars because that's beyond a level. That's Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos level. That's a higher level. They have millions of dollars more than what we do. You know, we're thousandaires. If that, they're millionaires, and the people that run this shit are billionaires. You know what I mean? But it's showing you that at every level of society there is peer pressure. There's peer pressure at school. There's peer pressure at work. There's peer pressure in the entertainment industry. There's peer pressure all around. When you give into peer pressure, when you give into this level of insecurity, you know, you never feel right about yourself. You always feel dirty. You know, and in the end of the day, you live to regret it. You know what I mean? Because your conscience will always haunt you. Because you're the flavor of the month. You know, they'll talk about you for a while, they'll accept you for a while, and then they'll move on to the next person. So when you make these kind of choices, like people talk about consent when it comes to things like this, and people say, "Well, she consented or he consented." Right? They're consenting adults; they can do what they want. But again, like we talked about before in other videos, there's coercion, there's pressure. So sometimes consenting adults are not so consenting. Sometimes consent can be manufactured. A famous author and linguist and political analyst, Noam Chomsky, wrote about this years ago. Manufacturing consent, how whole societies could sometimes be manufactured. The opinions of whole societies and whole cultures and whole countries could be manufactured and could be manipulated and could be coerced. And that's exactly what happened here. I'm sure Cena didn't want to do it, but he was made to do it. And sometimes you got to think about that too. When things like this happen with sexual exploitation, you got to think, okay, well, maybe they didn't want to do it. Maybe they didn't care to do it, but they were made to do it by peer pressure. Peer pressure exists at all levels of society, like I said. You know, and just because it's a guy, don't think that it's a joke. Because male body dysmorphia is just as big a thing as female body dysmorphia, especially when you're dealing with a guy like John Cena, who don't assume because he's a wrestler. See, the kind of joke that they made towards him being a wrestler and him wrestling quote unquote half naked in speedos is like saying to a woman like Cardi B. Imagine if somebody said to a woman like Cardi B, "Listen, Cardi, you know you rap about sex all the time on your songs. So what's the difference between you rapping about WAP and you starring in a porno? You know what I mean? Like they're the same thing, right? No, but they're not the same thing. One is halfway. One is selling the illusion of sexuality. The other is selling pure sexuality. They're not the same thing. You know what I mean? That's like saying, okay, he smokes weed, so he got to smoke crack too. They're both drugs, but they're on different levels. You can't compare them. You know what I mean? So, what John Cena does for a living and what he's done for the last decade or so is not the same thing as what they were asking him to do last night. And if they think it is, then they're totally warped in their mindset. You know what I mean? He might sell the illusion of male sexuality, but he's not actually selling male sexuality. He's not actually going out there stripping naked in front of billions of people. You know, he's not doing that. You know, until last night, he was doing that. So my point in saying this, I find myself agreeing with Candace Owens more and more as I on her opinions about culture, not her opinions about politics, whatever her political viewpoints are, but her opinions about culture. She's absolutely correct in the way that Hollywood is pushing sexuality on kids, you know, and doing it through a guy that is an idol to many children. You know, a person that many people grew up with looking at as wholesome as they would Big Bird or Barney or somebody like of that status. You know, trying to destroy our heroes, trying to destroy the people that we looked up to. Not me, because by the time I by the time John Cena came along, I was already a grown up adult by then. You know, you know what I mean. But I know how this felt. I know how this feels. You know what I mean? Because we talked about last year when Pee Wee Herman passed away, how when the Pee Wee Herman story came out, that he was caught doing what he was caught doing. This crushed me, you know, as a kid because I didn't understand why uh, people are saying, okay, let me address this. But first, let me finish my point, at least about Pee Wee Herman. I didn't understand at the time, in 1991, as young as I was, why Pee Wee Herman would do something like this that he was caught doing, this lewd act. And it destroyed my fandom in him because to me, he was like a John Cena of his age. He had done such a good job at cultivating and protecting the Pee Wee Herman character that when this story came out, it it shattered the illusion of what Pee Wee Herman was to many people. You know, to many kids growing up. So I'm sure kids that are Gen Zers, kids that are were kids during the John Cena age, like Victoria, like my daughter, I'm sure that they feel the same way that I felt like with Pee Wee Herman. You know what I mean? This idol of childhood completely destroyed by something like this. People are saying he did this. Let me address what Lisa's saying. People are saying they did this because they don't see him. I don't know what they mean by that. Yeah, Lisa, what that is referring to is his slogan in wrestling was for years. He would do this with his face. He got it from Tony Yayo, and his slogan was "You can't see me like you can't see me." When he first came out. Of course, the meaning of it was perverted. The meaning of it was twisted around by the mainstream culture. He took it from a slang. What he meant to say was not "you can't see me" like you cannot visually see me. He meant to say that, okay, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, one of the sayings that we would say was "you can't see me like you can't be equal to me." Not "you can't visually see me," but people that became his fans, they took it and perverted it. They took it and twisted it around and misinterpreted the meaning to "you can't see me" became like you cannot visually see him. When meanwhile you can't see me was like, okay, you can't see me at basketball, you can't see me at boxing, you can't see me, like you can't be like me. You can't emulate me. It was a different context, but of course, the mainstream culture, they take shit and twist it around, and they misunderstand the meaning. So the meme was "you can't see him, now you can see him." You know what I mean? That's the joke, that John Cena was invisible. Right. I mean, hey, hey, they twisted around Straight Outta Compton. I remember when Straight Outta Compton was first coming out. This is completely off topic, but when Straight Outta Compton was first coming out in 2015, people started saying uh, straight out of, and then they would talk about things that they don't have anymore, things that they don't possess anymore, and straight out of, like, okay, if I'm eating French fries and I say I'm straight out of fries, that's not what the title of the movie meant. Like, you're completely twisting it around into what it originally meant. I'm straight out of $5 bills. No, that doesn't make any sense in the context that they're talking about it. Straight out of straight out of chocolate. When you don't have no more candy. That's not what Straight Outta Compton meant. That's not what the slogan Straight Outta Compton meant. By Felicia. Somebody said, uh, with By Felicia. They were like, yo, I wonder where Felicia's going. Because they're always saying bye to her, and we never know where she's going. But obviously, By Felicia, the slogan has been out for years, and that's not the context that they meant in it. So people will pick up on this sort of shit, and they'll never know where it came from. They just say things because this is something that they heard other people say. And before you know it, the meaning is completely twisted around to something that it didn't even mean. So that's what happened with "you can't see me." Even with this hand gesture, obviously it came from people that know about it, came from "So Seductive," the Tony Yayo video. And John Cena himself admitted that that's where this came from. You know what I mean? But like I said, his character in the early 2000s was based off a white kid, was based off a white kid that was liking hip hop, a white rapper. Basically, how he came into WWE as the prototype, from OVW, a developmental territory in Ohio. He was a robot at first. He was like a Terminator character, the prototype, and then that was getting nowhere in WWE. So Stephanie McMahon heard him rapping on the bus when they were on tour in Europe, freestyle rapping. So she decided on a Halloween episode of SmackDown to turn him into a white rapper character. And basically, back in the early days, everything he would do was like a rapper. You know, he would say, "You can't see me," the Tony Yayo thing, his championship belts, both the United States Championship and later when he won the WWE Championship, were spinner belts, like the spinner chain that 50 Cent had, you know, when he was in G Unit. So uh, that was his image. You know what I mean? Like a white rapper character. And he would wear these bright colored clothes. He would wear jeans, shorts. He would, you know, when he would make his comeback in wrestling, he would pump up his sneakers like the pumps, you know, the pump sneakers. So he would do those kind of like uh shit. And it was meant to have the people hate him, but eventually the people started loving him. And because of the disses he would do. It was the days of battle rap, 106 in Park, the Smack DVDs, heavy battle rap. You know what I mean? And he would basically cut ass on all these other wrestlers, you know, in his interviews. So that was his image. And then after 2005, his image became that he was like this patriotic wrestler. Because even the night they killed Osama bin Laden in 2011, they had a pay per view that night, and he was the one. He was the one of the first celebrities to announce, besides Barack Obama, the president himself, that they had killed Osama bin Laden. So, and he would always be involved when they would do these things in the latter half of the 2000s, in the 2010s with the tribute to the troops. He became the symbol for WWE and became the face of the company for many years. Like I said, for about 10 years. He was on top longer than Hulk Hogan, longer than Stone Cold Steve Austin, longer than basically any wrestler, you know, in the modern era. So, but in recent years, you know, he's moved away from wrestling, especially with his unofficial retirement in 2019. He came back in 2020 because they didn't have Roman Reigns, who's their new star that they're pushing, you know, because of COVID and his compromised immune system. So Cena's always been there for the company, you know, but he's been trying to get into Hollywood for the longest, you know. So okay, Lisa just sent me a thing that a fan wrote, and I'm gonna read you guys what this fan wrote. Okay, it says, John, I am a longtime fan and have always admired your strength, determination, and talent in the ring. However, yesterday at the Oscars, I was truly disappointed to see you in a role that does not suit you. You are no longer the John of before, whether in the WWE or in movies. I sincerely hope that you will rise above this and show us once again your courage and strength of character. Do not let this disappointment define you. Keep fighting and preserving and persevering. We, your fans, believe in you and know that you are capable of overcoming this. Never give up, John. Exactly. I agree with that 100% what that fan said. Because also another thing that John Cena became synonymous with, like eventually John Cena became so popular in the WWE that a lot of the fans that were into the inner workings of professional wrestling, you know, it would be the what they call the smart mark fans, the smart fans will read the dirt sheets and magazines. They will boo him, and he came out with a slogan then called "Rise Above It." basically an anti-bullying slogan. And to a lot of people that were bullied in their life, they felt an inspiration in John Cena. You know, that his character would never give up in the ring. He would always keep fighting despite being beat down on several occasions by, other wrestlers that were bigger and stronger than him, like Brock Lesnar, for example, at 2020, 2014 SummerSlam. So he became a symbol, especially for, like I said, people that were disabled to never give up. I remember a kid uh, telling me that they watched 2014 SummerSlam, and when John Cena got beat up by Brock Lesnar, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to them in their childhood. Now you might think, okay, doesn't he know that it's fake? Doesn't he know that it's all pre-planned out? It was wrestling, you know what I mean? But to a kid that is looking up to John Cena, like this fan here, I'm sure this fan is probably below the age of 20 or like a Gen Zer, right? And grew up with John Cena. I'm sure this fan, by his words, is like looking at John Cena like, why did he do something like this? Another person like uh, Planet Pam, Pana Planter, all right, a semi-famous wrestling YouTuber. And he grew up with John Cena. I'm interesting to see his reactions on this. You know what I mean? Because he's always talking about how he admired John Cena. A lot of fans are heartbroken by this because they don't understand this. They don't just come out of nowhere for Cena. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a movie role. You know what I mean? Like we said, this is not something that like what Halle Berry did, right? Where people might look at like, okay, Halle Berry, how could she do something like this degrading? But Halle Berry didn't cultivate an image for years and years that she was wholesome. Halle Berry didn't do something like that. Like I'm sure, like with Lisa, Lisa probably felt something similar, like with the with TLC at first, confusion, like when Left Eye went and she tried to go more hardcore with Death Row Records, like doing something that is totally out of character for her, you know, and that could hurt a fan sometimes because they don't understand why the person that they admired that cultivated this image over time as a wholesome person, as a respectable person, would do something like this. This is heartbreaking for his devoted fan base. But Hollywood doesn't understand his fan base. They don't care about his fan base. They think that his fan base is stupid idiots anyway. you know? So it's like with Lizzo. I compare this to Lizzo in a lot of ways because with Lizzo, when Lizzo's scandal came out, people were disappointed with Lizzo in a lot of the same ways because here Lizzo is promoting positivity for women, assertiveness for women, body positivity for women, and then it came out that Lizzo was bullying her dancers, putting them down with disparaging remarks about their weight, and Lizzo is supposed to be promoting body positivity. Like when you become a hypocrite to your people and your people were loyal to you, and then they find that you're not who you say you were. Because remember, John Cena wasn't just this on WWE TV. And people will say, okay, Hulk Hogan was that in the '80s, right? Like he say your prayers and take your vitamins, right? And then he turned out not to be that, but that was because in his days, I'm sure when people found out the real truth about Hulk Hogan in 2015 with the racist scandal, they were like hurt too by that. You know what I mean? But by then, most of his fans had already known the truth about him. But John Cena is scandal free. You know what I mean? And this could hurt a celebrity's image. Like I said, with Lizzo, she never really recovered after the scandal happened. Never, ever. Like the women that fucked with Lizzo heavily is not gonna really fuck with Lizzo no more like that heavily because they're gonna be like, oh well, she's just a hypocrite. You know, and she's just somebody that she says one thing, but in her private life, she does another complete different thing. You know, and one thing most people don't respect is hypocrisy. You're either gonna be real or you ain't gonna be real. And John Cena, again, he's used his real name. He doesn't use a nickname. He doesn't use a fake name. He uses his real name. He promotes this image, like I keep saying, this image that he's cultivated over the years. Even if that's not the real him, even if he's bullshit, right? And he goes home and he does every imaginable crazy thing you can imagine. The fact that he did it on public TV destroys him now. He's saying you gotta go to WWE and explain himself. Yeah, he probably do, and he'll probably get booed out of the arena right now because that's two strikes against him: the Vince McMahon thing and this thing here. It's like you're looking at John Cena now as somebody who will say and do whatever he has to do to get ahead, and maybe that's who he was all along. Maybe he was never the guy he portrayed himself to be. Maybe he was always a guy that he was out for the money. You know what I mean? But this will destroy him, no doubt. Just like Will Smith Oscar fuck up from 2 years ago destroyed him completely in the people's eyes because Will Smith was another guy who he spent years and years cultivating a certain image of himself, cultivating a certain mystique about himself. And now he's gone completely against that mystique. He's going completely against that narrative. But these kind of award shows, they're always looking for this kind of uh, surprise thing because they need that kind of shit because let's face it, nobody watches these award shows. We talk about specific isolated incidents within the award shows, like the Jay Z uh, incident at the Grammys, where he basically came out and said that people need to acknowledge Beyonce as the greatest or whatever. Kanye that used to do this type of shit, and Kanye had a similar incident happen to him. Remember when Kanye had his anti-Semitic incident? People are like, Kanye is supposed to be this conscious rapper. He's supposed to promote positivity, and he's coming out with shit like this. You know what I mean? It just it hurts inside. You know what I mean? Because certain celebrities are very careful about how they craft their image, and John Cena was one of them. Bill Cosby was another one who hurt a lot of people from what they found out about him. Now, I'm not saying that's on the same level, but what I am saying is there's a certain level of respectability that certain celebrities have. Barack Obama has had this for years. You know what I mean? Certain celebrities promote a level of respectability and they're careful about their image. Certain ones are not careful about their image. They just do whatever, right? And they and they thrive off shock value. But I don't know. John Cena has destroyed a lot of people's childhoods with this kind of shit. So thank you for John Cena for raping the childhood of many people. destroying and completely annihilating the childhood of many people. You know what I mean? Not my childhood, because I was already an adult by the time you came along, but the childhood of many, many Gen Zers that looked up to you as a person of integrity. And what you did was not on the level of what some of these other Hollywood celebrities are doing, but you showed that you are a man of no integrity and no moral and no backbone and no substance. You're completely willing to go along to get along with anything that Hollywood tells you to do. So if they're going to tell you to do this other, if you go this far in public, how far will you go in private? Are you going to be on? Uh, is there going to be another Jeffrey Epstein that you're gonna show up on Jeffrey Epstein's list? In another one of these Hollywood sexual assaulters, and you're going to be hanging out with them because these are your new friends now. These are the people that you're chilling with now. Congratulations. I hope it was worth it. Peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to see when my next video is coming out. For years, you wanted people to not see you. Now they see you and don't want to see you. Peace. Love you. Thank you, Lisa, for contributing. Love you guys. Remember, always stay true to who you are and to who your image is. If you're going to destroy your image, do it for something that's worth it. Do it for your own self. Do it for your own integrity. Never sell out, ever. Peace.